Chocolate ganache peppermint cookies.
Hi, I'm Nancy Brush, and welcome to this episode of the Messermeister Holiday Cookie Show, where I'll be showing you how to make a really fun holiday treat, chocolate ganache crushed candy cane cookies. I love showing others how to cook, and even though I'm providing the basic recipe, I want you to be able to put your own stamp on it. For instance, instead of using crushed peppermint candy canes for the center of your cookie, maybe you'd like to use chocolate sprinkles, maybe a little hazelnut, whatever your heart desires. Remember, all I'm doing is showing you the basic recipe. I want you to put your own stamp on it.
The holiday cookie I'm featuring is a double chocolate delight. Chocolate shortbread rounds layered with a creamy chocolate ganache, then made extraordinary with a holiday favorite, crushed candy canes. But before we do anything, make sure you take a moment to wash your hands thoroughly. Let's get our mise en place together. Oh, what's mise en place, you ask? It's one of the cornerstones of professional cooking, and it simply means gathering all the recipe ingredients together, all ready to be assembled into the final product. For example, I've already crushed the candy canes, so when I'm ready to use them, they'll be right there. I won't have any interruptions in the middle of making the final product.
Besides having the candy canes crushed, I have all the other ingredients ready.
The softened butter, sugar, and have sifted together the flour, cocoa powder, and salt. It's also important to have all the utensils at hand like these.
I think it's important to know your ingredients. Even though I'm using basic ones like butter, sugar, and cocoa powder, it's important to know whether you can substitute ingredients successfully. Good quality butter is imperative for this recipe. Don't use margarine. It just doesn't impart the same nutty quality as real butter does.
Unsalted butter is clearly labeled. In fact, always use unsalted butter in making, since that allows you to control the salt levels. Most dessert recipes require a small measure of salt, which serves to accent the sweetness of the final product.
Use natural cane sugar whenever possible, and as a rule, it's organic. Most supermarkets provide organic ingredients, and I try to use them whenever possible. Vanilla extract doesn't have to be vanilla boring, and some supermarket extracts are simply that. At this time of the year, why don't you treat yourself to something more intense like a really good Madagascar or Tahitian vanilla? Use a large egg at room temperature. And if you've forgotten to leave your egg out, I've got a great Messermeister tip.
Place the egg in a glass, run hot water over it, and let it sit for just 30 seconds. Simply pour out the water, dry it off, and it's ready to use.
This recipe includes natural, unsweetened cocoa powder.
Do not use Dutch cocoa powder. Dutch cocoa powder differs from regular cocoa powder because it's treated with an alkali that reduces its chocolate impact. We want chocolate impact.
I like using unbleached white flour or unbleached white whole wheat flour. Either one works really well. If you don't happen to have either one of them, though, go ahead and use regular old all-purpose flour. For the salt, use everyday iodized table salt. Don't use rock salt, don't use sea salt, don't even bother with kosher salt. For such a minuscule amount, just use regular table salt.
Now that you know the basics, let's start baking. I'll start with the dough. For the cookies, 1 cup unsalted butter at room temperature, 1/2 teaspoon Tahitian vanilla, 1/2 cup sugar, 1 large egg at room temp, 2 cups of flour, 1/2 cup natural unsweetened cocoa powder, 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Remember our mise en place? Well, that's mise en place. Most cookie recipes have you creaming the butter and sugar together at the same time. But if you give the butter a head start by creaming it on medium for only 20 seconds or so, the sugar will be grateful. Because when you cream the butter independently for a few moments, it becomes soft enough for the sugar to absorb more quickly. Cream together for 3 minutes until fluffy. Add all the flour at once and mix just until combined.
Here's another great Messermeister tip.
Take a paper towel tube, cut the length of it with a pair of scissors, and separate the edges. Now line the tube with plastic wrap, spoon the dough into the length of the tube. Press the edges together, fold over the ends, and secure with a couple of rubber bands. Freeze the tubes for a minimum of 4 hours or overnight. The dough can remain frozen for up to 3 weeks before baking.
Meanwhile, make the ganache. Ganache is a chocolate and cream mixture designed to make you swoon when it's a filling for a cookie.
Ganache can be liquid for dipping or hardened as we need it for the cookie. It just depends on the amount of cream that's added to the melting chocolate. For this recipe, you need 8 ounces of semi-sweet chocolate. National store brands work well, or you can invest in more costly Belgian chocolate. Avoid milk chocolate, it just doesn't have enough flavor. You'll also need 1/4 cup of heavy cream and some good vanilla extract. 1 teaspoon will be enough. To melt the chocolate, add the chocolate and cream with the vanilla on low heat, then let the magic happen. The chocolate will slowly melt and not burn. Just stir from time to time till most of the chocolate has melted. Remove from the heat, continue to stir until the chocolate is completely melted and starts to firm up. To bake the cookies, remove the frozen dough from the freezer and let it sit for room temperature for about a half hour. Meanwhile, preheat the oven to 350 degrees and line a rimless cookie sheet with parchment paper. Or if you prefer, you can use non-stick baking spray, but not one with flour in it, which will discolor the cookie. With a Japanese thin-bladed knife, slice the dough in 1/8 inch rounds and place on the sheet. Bake for only 4 minutes. The cookies are done when there are no moist spots on top. In fact, whenever you bake, it's a helpful sign that the baked goods are ready if there are no shiny, damp areas on the top. Remove to a wire rack and let cool for a minute or 2. Now slide the paper off the sheet onto another wire rack and loosen the cookies. Let them stay on the rack until they are completely cooled to room temperature, in about 15 or 20 minutes. Repeat the baking procedure with the remaining dough.
To assemble the sandwich cookie, have ready the ganache, the crushed candy canes, the cookie dough layers, as well as confectioner's sugar in a tray.
Ganache is thick. To get it onto the cookie, take about a teaspoon of the chocolate, roll it around in the palms of your hands to form a small ball, then flatten it slightly with the palm of your hand. Just place it on the flat side of one cookie, sprinkle with the candy canes, and press another cookie gently on top. Repeat with the remaining cookies. Sprinkle the tops with just a little confectioner's sugar, arrange on a platter, and serve. Thanks for watching this episode of the Messermeister Holiday Cookie Show, and please join me again so we can make another extra good holiday treat.